That part when it came, it says, Paree Hoon Main. I said, Rajesh ji, Paree Hoon Main, thoda, sab, Leslee ji, Paree Hoon Main, final hai. I said, Rajesh ji, try something else, na? Na na mujhe rehna. I just wanted a little more edge, and I said, Paree Hoon Main, usko bahut sweet bana raha hai. So he said, नहीं Leslee, Paree Hoon Main, मैं बोल रहा हूँ ये final है, hit गाना है. Today's generation has got so used to needing hi-fi audio, hi-fi video, that they're not looking at the essence of what the music is about or what the visual is about. They're looking at they need that quality of sound. Then they feel it sounds good. Krishna, अच्छा भजन pop है. अरे भाई गाना सुनो. Warner Brothers sent us a mail saying, fantastic album, fabulously produced, but what is it? Oh, Deewane, and all blues and that kind of thing. If you're saying soulful music, then it has to come from souls. Even when I'm doing the rhythm, so you have to kind of get that sync, but somehow it wasn't syncing. It was aage piche, So I told this guy, I said, look, just take out your chati, put the madal there, and you just play jing, jing, tak, tik, tik, tak, tum. So that's how we got the rhythm going.
Hi Leslee sir, it's an absolute pleasure to be having you on our platform.
It is my pleasure to be anywhere musical, and since you want to talk about music, I'm always happy.
Thank you. So sir, let's start off with your start in music. How did you start music?
How did I start music? First of all, music was in my house. So my father, P.L. Raj, he's been one of the biggest choreographers in Bollywood. So Sholay, Sargam, Dawn, it's all done by him. So I also grew up with Helen Auntie and whatever. But my dad used to love musical instruments. So he had harmonium and he had tabla and dholak and dholki and electric guitar and Hawaiian guitar, and later on, he started buying synthesizers and drum machines. So that was his kind of toys, which I got to play with. So I was already playing with the TR-808. Today everybody in hip hop talks about, oh man, Roland 808, and I said, yeah, but I had that. That was one of my first toys. So I'm an electronic kid. I grew up with electronic music. I had a Jupiter 4. Today everybody's talking about the Jupiter 8. But when it first came out, it was Jupiter 4, and stuff like that I got kind of exposed to much earlier. So even there are little photographs of me when I was a young kid, with one guitar, ऐसा ही कुछ, मतलब just बच्चा कोई jing कर रहा है. The photos are there. So obviously the influence has always been there. Then and my mother is an avid radio listener. So I know all the Bollywood songs, पुराने गाने, but किसने गाया और किसने कंपोज किया और किसके lyrics है कुछ पता ही नहीं. गाना अच्छा लगता है. So I'm a melody guy. So I've always been attracted by the melody, not the lyrics, not the who did it kind of thing. Later on, of course, I got to figure out that this is Lata Mangeshkar, that is Asha Bhosle, this is Madan Mohan, that is S.D. Burman. As you go along, you realize that one of your favorite composers might be is Roshan. But nobody talks about Roshan ji, Hrithik Roshan's grandfather, Rajesh Roshan's and Rakesh Roshan's dad. But what an amazing, nice melodies and things like that, which very Punjab oriented, but dil ko chhute na gaane. I don't know kaun hai kya hai, I just like it. So in that way I got exposed to radio in Bollywood and to recordings in Bollywood with my dad. So going and sitting in the studio, or even when they were composing, like Kalyan ji, Anand ji bhai, with the producer, the director, and then Viju Shah, his Kalyan ji bhai's son, and me, my dad's son, we both be coming with our dads for the, the sitting, and they call it sitting, where they sit and compose, and we want to make some chup chap. So Viju, myself, so even in the recording studio, we'd be together sometimes, bump into each other. Oh, देखो क्या बजा रहे हो, electric guitar, oh wow, synthesizer. Both of us were kids that grew up with the magic of our fathers around us. So वो influence has always been there. And then I went to Mount Abu to study, and over there was, so I was in St. Mary's, and they had Catholics and they had non-Catholics, and there was the day scholars and the boarders. So all us boarders would bring music. So boys came from Kuwait, they came from Abu Dhabi, they came from Bombay, wherever. They brought English albums. So there was the Eagles, and there was Beatles, and there was Jimi Hendrix, and Cream, and stuff like that. And then the Hindi guys listening to the Hindi music. So everybody had their records. So on a Sunday after morning, like they'd put on the stuff, and I'd get, listen to the Beatles. Come together, and I said, man, what is this? It just sounds amazing, and it's just one speaker. So today's generation has got so used to needing hi-fi audio, hi-fi video, that they're not looking at the essence of what the music is about or what the visual is about. They're looking at they need that quality of sound, then they feel it sounds good. But just the raw music, I think that's what we got exposed to. Just one speaker, one Philips player, one LP and one speaker, that's it. There's no stereo, we just liked it. So I think organically liking music, not for the technology, but just for the music's sake, I think that's something. So in Mount Abu I got exposed to all that, and then it's never stopped. Then I started playing, came to Bombay, and I started playing in a we used to call it Blue Diamond Orchestra. In Marathi, orchestra. So, but I used to play on the streets.
You play the guitar?
I played the guitar, but so there was a conga player, there was a drummer, there was a saxophone. The saxophone player was a screen printer. The trumpet player was a bus driver in the daytime. So everybody had a job, but they all loved music, so they all kind of came together and did this thing. And I would play guitar, so there was no bass player, so I'd be playing bass and guitar and everything kind of in one. And we'd play for Ganpati festivals and, on the street, literally, those pandals on the street. And I, in my head, still wanted to be Jimi Hendrix, so I sometimes would play with my teeth, everything. This guy's gone mad. But yeah, it was cool. I just did what I had to do, and used to wear those high platform shoes, really often think you're some rock star, and bell bottoms and stuff like that. So it was a zone, and then the music has never stopped.
Right. So you were a guitar player. You played all across Mumbai in different situations, different places. From there to jingles, that was another big part of your life. How did that shift happen?
So first I started playing on these things, and then I got called for a play called Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and so I was the guitar player for that. Then I started playing in studios. So one of my family friends, his name is Mr. Kamal Kanti, he's not here. His son Jackie is a very good musician, producer. But of course I know Jackie when he was a little boy. So Kamal Kanji he knew my mom and dad, so they would come home. So one day I think he came and he was about to ring my bell, and he heard somebody playing the guitar inside the house. So he waited, I think, and I was playing some funk. And he waited, then he rang the bell. And obviously I went and opened the door. Guitar tum baja rahe? Chalo mere liye baja. I said, no, I can't play. I was too shy to play. But he made me play, whatever it is. He said, Ashu, whatever you're playing, I've heard. So I played. After that, he started calling me for recordings, Bhojpuri recordings. So slowly, I used to get 50 rupees for a recording. But I was in school, so I had to tell my vice principal, ma'am, please let me out. No, and she was very sweet. She'd give me a chit to leave the premises in the afternoon, because morning I was in class. By afternoon, if I had a recording, I'd go to Miss DC. I said, please, can you give me one leave chit to get out of school? And I used to go and play for these recordings, and I'd go and play for all these ghazals these nights. So Kamal Kanji would call me to his house on every Sunday morning. He was quote unquote sitting, because he was also trying to be a music director, and because he used to arrange for Kalyan Anandji. He was already in this space, but I think he wanted to do something on his own. So I was that core team that he had. There was Rajesh on Keshav on dholak, and me on guitar, and him on harmonium. That's it, three of us. So we'd go to like Yash Chopra's house in the morning, and whether it's Sunday morning, they are chilling, but he has given some time to him, so he's come, three of us, Bichua, Kumari, Jing in the morning on Sundays, and sometimes these producers would come from Delhi and stay in the red light area, and and three of us, harmonium, guitar and dholak, trudging by train to Grant Road and then getting to this seedy hotel, and again Bichua Dang Kumari. It's like repeating his songs, but I learned so much over there, and they believed in me, I guess. Somewhere he believed in me and helped me get into the recording world. From there I started doing jingles, and then Louis Banks started calling me for a lot of his jingles, and at some point he just made me I became his assistant. So for nearly everything he did, I was always there, and I was like his right hand man. So I got to learn how to do jingles because he's the master, and working under a master is always. I tell people, I said, you need a guru. We are all very good. I was also very good, but if I didn't have the right people around me and the right people to teach me. Same with guitar. I mean, I had Gussie Rick, who in Delhi, if you look around, you find he's one of the finest teachers they've got there. And Gorakh Sharma, Pyarilal's brother, younger brother, he was also my guru. So learning from Gorakh ji one style, something else, learning from Gussie is coming to rock and blues and jazz. You always need that guru. So with Louis Banks, I got to learn because I did everything, like programming, drums, playing guitar, with the recording, ensuring that, and then sitting with the mix while he was getting ready with the next client, because we do 2 and 3 jingles a day. So while I was finishing this one, he'd be outside with the next client trying to tell them what's the next jingle that he's got for them, while I was just getting the first one done up. So I got to actually be hands-on. So I learned a lot of production, and then of course in the band there was, I was part of Savage Encounter. So Nandu Bhende has been one of the iconic singers, and I was his roommate. I mean, wherever we went to perform, I stayed with Nandu. We are both foodies. We both loved music, and he was into production, how to produce, all those things. So I got so many concepts that he passed on to me, and I've tried to use them wherever I can, because these are all evolved people. So to be with them as a young kid, and life lessons, not just about music. You're just hanging out. So in that talking every day, you learn something here, you learn something there, because somebody has something to say. So that Guru Shishya thing, I think, works. Not mera class 2 to 4 hai. I'm going for class with Guruji from 3 to 4, and after 3 to 4 o'clock, I'm gone back home and he's in his own house. You don't know what's going on. So at that time, they're teaching you within a box. But when you're with the Guru every day, all the time, hanging out, you learn all kinds of good things and bad things of your Guru. And it's great, but that makes you what you are. And I think, so with jingles, I was playing guitar everywhere. And then by the time it came to a point where we were doing 2 to 3 jingles every day, I didn't know I was coming or going. And the only thing I didn't do on Louis Banks's jingles as an assistant was compose. I never interfered in the composition. Yeah, because Louis did so many jingles, like ting, 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 that's him. Britannia. But 2 weeks later, I saw ting, 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 ting. I said, no, Louis, that's Britannia. Oh, okay, shit, yeah, of course. So I was just like a filter for him, because he was just composing.
You were part of few of the most iconic jingles as well. I mean, with
Yes, when I was with Louis, yes. But when I left Louis, then a lot of the filmmakers didn't want to work with. They all wanted to work with me, but they didn't want to work, because then you'd get upset. मतलब उसका चेला अब सोलो गया, अब सब वहाँ भाग रहे. Doesn't look good. I understand that, but I had to work hard to get my first jingle, and then once I got that, and then of course today you're hearing Mango Fruity, Fresh and Juicy, or Do. So many jingles. I've done like music for practically most brands in India, and all prime time commercials, that kind of stuff. So I've been in that advertising thing. So I've again learned how to take a brief, क्या चाहिए, client को क्या चाहिए, कैसे देना है, how to keep it musical but also deliver what the client wants, because at the end he's spending money because he wants some return in a certain way. So I think that I've managed to keep the balance of the musicality and the deliverables, and that's what brought me into doing my own jingles. And then from a guitar player, I became a jingle composer. So when I became a jingle composer, they said, no, I don't think he can compose. He's a very good guitarist. आपका jingle होगा तो गिटार बजाने में ज़रूर उसको बुलाओ. But I don't think he can compose. He's not a composer, because he was never the composer at that time, right? So to prove myself, by the time, like I said, Mango Fruity, ये वो सब होते, then everyone started coming to you for jingles. And then you're doing 30-second, 15-second jingles every day, and I'm saying, well, I want to do a song. Like in Lamba, doing a 60-second jingle, you hardly ever got that opportunity anymore. It had all shortened down to 40 and 30 and 20 and even 10 seconds at that point. So it was like, so then I stretched out, and that's how I did Paree Hoon Main for Suneeta Rao. Yeah, so Suneeta had already done an album with Louis called Señorita, and then she came to me and she said, I want to do something, I love folk, I want to do all that kind of stuff. I said, fantastic, let's do it. Just to stretch out, it was impossible because people just said, oh, he's a very good jingle composer. I don't think he can compose songs. मतलब जिंगल तो 15-20 सेकंड 30 सेकंड में ख़त्म होता है, सो दैट्स व्हाट इज गुड, पर पूरा गाना पता नहीं. सो करते करते देन परी हूँ मैं, जानम समझा करो, यारो दोस्ती, पल वल, ऑल दैट हैपेंड, and then people said, oh, he's such a good composer. So I had to prove myself every time. So first guitar player, then a jingle composer, then a pop music producer, then we formed a band. We said, hey, let's go and play live, and everybody said, ये तो गज़ल गाते हैं, and he's a music producer. वो क्या मतलब ये क्या band क्या live समझ में नहीं आता. So from 1994 to 1996, nobody released an album. They said पता नहीं क्या है, it's अच्छा गज़ल पॉप है क्या, because Hariharan is a गज़ल singer and he's a pop music producer. गज़ल पॉप है क्या, अच्छा कृष्णा, अच्छा भजन पॉप है, अरे भाई गाना सुनो. So for 2 years nobody released it. Warner Brothers sent us a mail saying, fantastic album, fabulously produced, but what is it? So they didn't release it. So we were sitting from 94 to 96. And in 96, when Colonial Cousins released, it became Colonial Cousins as you know it. So again, that transition to become a band from a music producer. So guitar player, jingle composer, pop music producer, band, Colonial Cousins. Everyone has had a hard time. And then, so 4 I've already finished. Now my 5th Athar is going to come.
So let's just get back to the first Hindi pop album, Dhua. It had a mix of sounds. Did they come from the influences that you've had growing up?
Yes.
Kind of music that you listen to?
Absolutely, because so Suneeta wanted to do like kind of a folk. She loved folk. So she said, can we do something folk? If you see all her songs, there's some folkiness to it. Even later on when she did Kesariya, and even her outfit, मतलब एक थोड़ा Indianness है, and she's got that kind of beauty in her own way and whatever. So when we did, so Señorita was more like a pop artist. And then with this became like, so there was no key song. It just became like, let's do an album that made her feel good as an artist and brought some folkiness to it where she felt like she was doing something different. So as a producer, that's what I did for her. So we had done all this. So there's one song which is rock and roll, and the title track, Dhuan. Oh, Deewane, and all blues and that kind of thing. And there's a bossa nova in that same song. There's one typical Indian Gana which goes from Marathi to Gujarati to all different kinds of folk, just moving from one to the other. And then if you listen to Paree Hoon Main, it's also very Pahadi influenced, again folky. Rajesh Johri had written the lyrics, and I remember we were sitting in the night. He'd come at night and we sit together and just write. And then that part when it came, it says Paree Hoon Main. I said, Rajesh ji, Paree Hoon Main, thoda something. Leslee ji, Paree Hoon Main final hai. I said, Rajesh ji, try something else, right? Because I'm hearing the song I'm the composer, I'm not the lyric writer. So he's thinking more in the lyrics terms, and I'm saying. So everything sounded, because I'm very phonetic oriented. I just wanted a little more edge, and I said, Paree Hoon Main isko bahut sweet bana raha hai. So he said, नहीं Leslee, Paree Hoon Main, मैं बोल रहा हूँ ये final है, hit गाना है. And he couldn't have said it better. He already pronounced it a hit at that time while we were writing it. So he knew, he already knew that. So when the song happened for Suneeta, and she became the Paree of that generation. I must tell you one more thing about Paree Hoon Main, very interesting.
Yeah.
Because my dad, PL Raj, has always been a choreographer. One of my favorite flautists has been Manori Singh, who has been R.D. Burman's right hand. So all the saxophone, flute that you hear in R.D. Burman's songs is Manori Singh. And he's iconic for all musicians. What I really loved about him, he's a Nepali, but he has been Calcutta Philharmonic's first flautist. That means he's like the sharpest player up in the front, can read notation like anything, but he's still a Nepali. So एक DNA है. There's something folky about him. So when I did Paree Hoon Main, there's a contractor, so you have to tell him, Acha, for this part, please call Manori Singh. This studio, this time. So we all waiting. Manori has not landed up. Acha, nahi aaya. Acha. Cancel the studio. Cancel the recording. Second day, we called again. He confirmed it. Again, he's not come. I said, kya ho raha hai? Third day, we confirmed him again. He confirmed it and didn't come. I said, what's going on? Because I'm just cancelling my recording every day. I'm not. So when he came the fourth time he realized कि ये बंदा पीछे ही पड़ा है. Then I realized I have my dad's son, so he knows Raj, PL Raj. ये Raj का बेटा है. How can I ask him for money? And it's a professional deal. He was feeling. He said like, let him use somebody else. No, I don't want to get into this professional. I get paid. You have to pay me so much. I don't get into that only. So like, just not do it. So he avoided. Fourth time he came, but when he heard the song, he flipped. He just sat there. He never went away. And he played, if you listen to the flute solo as it fades out, Paree Hoon Main, it's amazing. He just went into his zone. And I think that is like casting in a film. You got to have the right cast. And Manori Da there could have been nobody else who could have played the flute in some of my biggest songs. So whether it is Paree Hoon Main, whether it's Janam Samjha Karo, Bhigi Bhigi Raaton Mein, that's all Manori Da. So, so when I'm casting somebody, I'm already looking at so Paree Hoon Main, big that sound of that flute. Only a Nepali from who can think international, but he knows what's a concert flute. He knows what's an alto flute. They've been through all that, but his DNA still brings him from the Pahadi angle, and I think that's the beauty and a lot of magic in this song.
Yes, it is definitely a magical song. I mean, we still listen to it today, and it's still as fresh as it is.
Yeah, because it's all using live musicians. Like even when I'm doing the rhythm, now how are you going to? So there's a tabla player so I got him, and there was tabla is a very good friend of mine, but I've forgotten his name. It's so many years. So he was playing tabla, and Deepak Borkar was playing percussion, was playing madal. So jing tak takata. I told him just play it on the baya. Jing tak takata, and then the madal player to be tatum jing tak tikit tatum jing. So you had to kind of get that sync, but somehow it wasn't syncing. Jing tak tikit tatum. It was aage piche, So I told this guy, I said, look, just take out your chati, put the madal there, and you just play jing tak tikit tatum. So that's how we got the rhythm going. So it's all organic. Yes, I've programmed. I used to have a Roland R8 in those days, and I used to program everything. So a lot of it is programmed, but the essence is very organic. There's one sound that comes in the middle is just the harp. But Avinash Oak was doing the sound. He was at the desk, and he did some stereo, panning, and then it just so it's all a lot of real music, real musicians, real sound, recorded by real engineers doing engineering. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's classic, and that's why it still appeals today. Just like old jazz does, and old songs still appeal because it's done by real people.
Right. There's a lot of honesty. There's a lot of real, like you mentioned. I mean, musicians playing real instruments, which kind of.
That's why that survived. If you look at all the old music till now, it's by real people. And everything, even if the melody is being repeated, it's not a Xerox copy. It's not copy paste. But there's nothing wrong with copy paste. The digital has its own magic, and that's why you see all the DJs and stuff they're doing. It's amazing. I mean, you try doing it; it's not easy. But that's another technology. That's another animal. But if you're saying soulful music, then it has to come from souls. Hariharan called me up actually, and he said, "Hey, this young singer has come. He sounds nice. You want to hear? Just sun le." So he sent KK over, and KK arrived, and I still remember he came with hair like this long. Some connection has been there with KK in a certain way, where he said, I've always dreamed that you'll do my album. मैंने ऐसे पागल है क्या? And he says, ये मेरा बेटा है, B.Com failed, उसको गिटार बजाने का शौक है. So when he said that, आशा जी popped in and said, देखो बेटा, ये शौक वौक सब अच्छा है, पढ़ाई पे ध्यान दो. She heard the 15 songs back to back, everybody grooving, and then she says, ये एल्बम नहीं रिलीज नहीं होगा. एंड एवरीबडी इज फ्रीक्ड आउट, क्या हो गया? एंड शी सेज ये आशा भोसले की आवाज़ नहीं है. यू हैव टू सिंग इट ऑफ द बीट बट डोंट मेक पीपल फील दैट हम रहे ना रहे याद आएंगे ये. दीज आर द फ्रेजिंग.